everybody. Hope you're doing good. Sorry it's been like ages since I made a video. I better turn this down or I'll get clipped. Anyway, lots of cool projects going on. We did a lot of landscaping last year, and that took up most of the year. But I have a this is a really cool 1969 RCA receiver. I'm kind of doing a semi-restoration on, but it has a matching turntable right here. I think it's a BSR, I'm not sure. This thing works pretty good actually. I cleaned all the old grease out of the mechanisms. I've been using super lube, full synthetic grease and oil to lube everything up. That stuff works great. Did get a new needle, and that is I got this off of eBay for like 12 bucks. And this apparently fits a lot of the older turntables. It's the flip over style. There's the part number. But it works really nice. This uses a rubber idler to drive the turntable. And of course it was hard as a rock. So I soaked that in brake fluid overnight. Thanks X-Ray Tony for that tip. And it works great. It actually goes a little fast. I downloaded a RPM app for my smartphone, which is really cool. You just get the app going and put it on the platter, and the numbers actually stay readable as it spins around. It's really cool. So a good way to check out your turntable RPM. The cover, it was pretty scratched up naturally. You know, how old is this thing? 40 plus years old. I did pick up some 1000 grit sandpaper. Some of the deeper scratches I started off with 400 grit actually. But I'll hit it with 1000, and then I have some 1500. And buff it out. Hopefully that'll come back good. I am going to put new electrolytic caps in this receiver. I did replace some of them so far. And this transistor right here, I pulled it out. I actually pulled them all out to re-grease them and clean the sockets. A couple of the sockets were loose too on these. But anyway, this particular transistor was working okay. It wasn't shorted, but the gain was like really low compared to the rest of them. So I replaced that with I think it's a 2N3905, something like that. And then we still had a problem with the left channel. And I can lift this up here. There was a spot on the board that had where one of the wires come through. It was a little long, and it was actually touching another trace and kind of shorten out the left channel. So all I had to do is clip that off, and the left channel started working just fine. I did reflow quite a few solder joints, especially around the this area here and this area here, where it has these, they're kind of like an STK module preamp. You can see those there. One there, one there. And I'm glad those were okay, because those are like pretty much unobtainium. But anyway, should turn out great. Cleaned all the pots and switches with deoxit. Repainted the indicator needle with it's kind of a fluorescent nail polish paint actually from the dollar store. Works great. What else? What else is happening? Picked up a Tom T. Hall record, brand new, still in the plastic wrapper. Thought I'd use it for testing purposes. And picked up a couple of Royce, what are they, 1-621 40 channel base stations. Gonna go through there and, you know, do the standard cleaning and electrolytics. And what else? Been making a little progress on the Turbo Pinto wagon. I didn't do much last winter because it was just too cold. I did get the engine installed, hopefully permanently. I had to go find a bell housing for a cable style clutch. I couldn't use the hydraulic setup because there's not enough room in here. As you can see, there's the master cylinder and there's just no room. So anyway, the bell housing's in, clutch cable's in, brand new. The transmission is in. It's a BorgWarner T5 World Class out of a turbo coupe. I did rebuild the whole brake system. Had to replace a piston caliper, or caliper piston up front, and all new rubber hoses, new wheel cylinders in the back, hardware, riveted shoes. I was surprised I could still find riveted shoes. And I got some premium grade pads for the front. I wish it was power brakes, but whatever. It's a 5-speed. I'll use the compression to slow down if I have to. What else? Got the EMS, engine control computer mounted. I still got to wire it in. I got the ignition module mounted, and that is a heat sink for the module. It's actually off of a Lightning pickup, Ford Lightning pickup. And so that'll keep the module away from the heat. Normally they're mounted on the distributor. I got a brand new NGK coil. Made some mounting brackets for that. I got a new connector for that, new connector for the ignition module too, as well. What else? I had to kind of modify the bracket here for the front because I'm not using the power steering, so I cut that part off. And then it took about, I think, 4 tries to get the right size length of serpentine belt, but we got her. And then I picked up some, you can see these. They're some kind of titanium type heat insulator for the spark plug boots. Got a set of those. Got some new silicone hose for the water feed on the turbo. Still got to put a piece underneath for the drain part, but I found a plug for the O2 sensor hole, because I'll be mounting the O2 sensor in the downpipe when I get to that point. But I put some oil in it and primed up the oil system before I put the distributor in, and it pumped up great. So we're getting pretty close. Got a new water pump on there, new outlet housing, new engine mounts, new transmission mount. I picked up a new starter solenoid. Anyway, lots to do yet. I still got to come up with some kind of hood scoop because I had to cut this one out to make room for the throttle body. I had a friend of mine cut and re-weld the upper plenum. He moved it 90 degrees, and I wish I would have had him take some material out of it to shorten it up a bit, but whatever. I have an intercooler to mount yet, and still need to find a donor pinto for somebody cut out the top portion of the core support. So So I need to find that and the hood release latch and all that. What else? I put in some new the plastic adjuster part on the headlight buckets, and got some new screws. The old plastic ones were just shot. What else? I did get a set of studded snow tires, and I don't think I'm going to need them before I get this running. What else? I did pull the gas tank out last year, and amazingly enough, it was rust-free. I guess Ford was pretty good about galvanizing things, and cleaned up the fuel sending unit with some deoxit, checked it with an ohm meter. It's working great. I think it goes from like 10 to 50 ohms, something like that. And then I picked up a Bosch external mount fuel pump. Got to mount that yet and wire it in with a relay. And still got I'm just going to make a filler neck for this. Kind of tough to find for a wagon, which is fine because I got to put the return line into the filler neck anyways for the fuel injection. Still got some rust repair to do, but it's coming along. And there's my old project there, my old Buick Regal Lexus. It's a 1973. I bought that in 1988 with a blown up 350, and I re-rang a 455 and put it in there. And I've had it for 25 years. I haven't done anything with it. It needs restored, but that was a fun car, man. That 455 is a torqued monster, and it was bone stock. 8.5 to 1 compression. And the shack. On the bench, I have a 1953 Hallicrafters S38C AM receiver, and it needs, you know, everything. It's got all these old capacitors, these old waxy, and then new electrolytics, and I pulled this mess out of there. Look at that. Somebody had tacked those in there, and they were just hanging in the breeze. So anyway, and I've been checking a few resistors. The first two I checked were out of tolerance, so I'm going to have to order up some new resistors. And there's a big monster right here. I don't know what that is, 2 watt or 5 watt, something like that. But, and I will be putting a polarized plug on this too. This is the transformerless, like an All-American 5. So they had a hot chassis problem. So we'll be updating that for sure. Put in a new dial light. And the IF cans, I'll probably have to pull those off and get rid of the silver mica part. Put in some newer capacitors there. And I don't have a tube tester, so I'm going to just wing it and hope the tubes are good. Fire it up. I did clean up the chassis a bit with a toothbrush and some cleaner. Came out pretty good. Cleaned out the tuning capacitor and lubed the bearings. I have some super lube in a little pin oiler type thing. That works really good for getting in those tight spots. And got the knobs all cleaned up, and I'm going through my film capacitors here. I've been marking them for value, and I also used my old oscilloscope to determine the foil side. And this is new to the bench. This is I think it's a Mega 328 tester, capacitors, transistors, resistors, whatever. This thing, for a cheap Chinese thing, this thing is awesome. Sorry about the glare. I've been using that quite a bit. And also I picked up a stylus pressure gauge digital, so I can dial in the tone arm weight, stylus weight. What else? Also scored this, it's a 1967 voltometer, and it's 20 ohms per volt type, and it also goes up to I think 1,000 volts AC. This thing's built like a tank. As you can see, all the screws around the perimeter, and then when you take that off, there's a nice rubber gasket in there, and it was like brand new. Anyway, I cleaned out the rotary switches with deoxit, and this thing is like right on. I checked it against my digital multimeter, and that was a good score. What else? I made a little speaker test panel for audio work, and I have a couple of 8 ohm non-inductive load resistors, and you can connect your speakers with this method or banana jacks. Then I also put some BNC connectors here so I can scope that also on the output and the input, and then I have a switch to go from dummy load to speakers, all that. That's been really handy. Thanks again to X-Ray Tony for that inspiration. Also, I went to a flea market type sale, and I got 3 of these, what they called power conditioner boxes. So I took the lid off to have a look inside, and it's basically an isolation transformer, which is great because I needed one of those. And so I modified it a little bit on the ground side to make it a floating ground. And I had to actually pull the outlet out and put some plastic washers in there. So it's ground free, and it's only rated for like 1.25 amps, I believe. But it works great in conjunction with the dim bulb tester. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And the old HP 130C scope has been working great. I still need to get a decent set of probes, but I'm using it mainly for audio work, so I'm just winging it. And it's amazing. That thing works great. And the cheap Chinese signal generator. Took me a while to kind of figure out the controls on that monster, but we're getting there. Still learning. Lots to learn. What else is happening? I've got a Pioneer cassette deck. I'm waiting for belts to show up. It was kind of weird. You'd put a tape in, it'd play for about a second, then it would shut off. And what was happening was the drive belt for the counter, it has a little sensor on there, and it wasn't getting a signal to let it know it was, turning. And so anyway, belt's coming for that, and we'll get that fixed up. What else? I think that's about it for projects for now. Also, our local Goodwill, they've been putting out these grab bags of old Radio Shack parts, and I went and got every bag that was available, and there's all kinds of cool stuff here. ICs and old Motorola type antenna jacks, barrier strips, knobs. There was even 2 bags of the old chrome car radio knobs for the old shaft style radios. 2 bags of those. Pretty cool. Audio cassette repair kit. Check that out. all kinds of LEDs, more knobs, transistors, fuse block taps for the old style fuses. Amazing. I did print up a capacitor conversion chart and just posted it up because I got tired of going on the computer all the time to look it up. And so now I can easily convert from picofarad to microfarad or whatever. That's pretty handy. Anyway, I'll be making some more videos here. Sorry it's been like forever. But anyway, I'll have a good, or you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, over and out.